I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
Let's go.
He's Derek.
Category is shady. Ooh, that's right, girl.
She's Romaine.
I am a horny lesbian. I like to have sex. If I was single, I'd be having sex.
This is Derek and Romaine.
2.0, bitches. Ooh, I would be having sex if I was single. Ooh, yes, girl. Hi, Derek.
Well, hello, Romaine. Well, it's obviously it's that time of year again.
It's cold outside, so I need to be having a lot of sex.
Maybe. I don't know. It's not exactly clear because it's a pre-record what time of year this is, but it feels like the end of the year, the beginning of the new year. So glad to have you with us as we turn the clock forward and also apparently backward. So we thought on today's show we would talk about some of the hot stories that we missed in 2025 in our regular show. You know, every day when we do our show, and it is every day when we do our show, Romaine and I scour the news with a scrub brush to find the juiciest, craziest whatevers. And I always pull, a bunch more than Romaine does, but because she knows I'm going to pull 40 stories.
Yes.
So we end up with a lot of things that we don't get to because, we run out of time. And you might be thinking, really? Because I listen to the show all the time and it feels like you drag on one topic for 20 minutes.
Sometimes we do. What are you talking about?
Sometimes that does happen. But anyway, since we've left a lot of great stuff on the table, we thought today's show would be about some of the great stuff that we have left on the table.
Sure. I like this.
Year.
I like this idea.
I do too, because when we're recording things from the past to air in the future.
Yeah.
Like, well, what can we talk about that will not implicate our time of year or have already expired by the time we talk about it?
Well, actually, I have something that I didn't talk about before the show, but I do have something that I doubt we'll talk about on the show.
Oh.
I don't know why, but it would make a good topic for today. I recently bought myself something.
Okay, all right. I love a new purchase.
Well, and here's the funny part about what I bought myself. I rarely buy myself things of this nature because I tend to get them for free. But recently I was out shopping and I came across something that was so cute I couldn't resist it. So it's a squirrel.
Squirrel.
But it's not just any squirrel. So I was in a perfectly cromulent normal store. Let me start by saying that. I think it was a clothing store, actually, my daughter wanted to go into. And while my daughter was shopping, while my daughter was shopping for clothes, I saw this display case. And inside this display case, they had a variety of cute little objects. And one of them was a squirrel. And I thought that squirrel is so cute. And then it was like a neon pink kind of squirrel, super cute, adorable. But what made this squirrel really adorable was that it was a sex toy. So it's a new type of vibrator, Derek, that has come out with in the last probably 5 years. They've really become quite popular. They are these like little like suction toys that work on a woman's clitoris. So imagine a small little round opening that just fits right over the little man in the boat. And then it goes, and sucks on your clit in a rapid succession kind of way, right? They're very, very popular. Women love them. I had not tried one or used one, but I've been meaning to. I just, I've been busy and I just, hadn't done it. And I thought, well, this is a pretty cute one. And then the tail of the little squirrel is also like it vibrates, right? So it's your standard vibrator, but then it's kind of a dual operational toy. It both sucks on your clit and vibrates at the same time. It's quite adorable. So I was asking the sales girl about this toy, and then I found out that it was manufactured by a mother-daughter company, which I thought was quite odd. I was like, oh, that's interesting. A mother and a daughter working on producing sex toys together. Huh.
Really? Because I feel like that's the kind of thing that you and Romy would eventually get into.
I would
frankly.
love that, but Romy will not have it. Romy's like, absolutely not. I want nothing to do with you and your sex talk. Romy's such a fucking prude. So I doubt that will ever happen. But anyway,
shame.
I know. So I was talking to this woman, and I could tell by the quality of the toy that it was a high quality sex toy. It was made with silicone. It was waterproof. Like there was just a lot going for it. And I thought, maybe I should get this. And then the price point was fairly good. It was like $60. And I thought, well, that's not too expensive for what it does. And I thought,
for a novelty sex toy?
Yeah, I thought, you know what? I'm going to take this little squirrel friend home with me. So I bought it. By the way, my daughter was in the store when I bought it, and she was horrified. Mom, I can't believe you would buy this in front of me. And I'm like, girl, I have sex. You know I have sex. It's not a big deal. Stop making it a bigger deal than it is. You can't do that somewhere else. And I'm like, clearly not. This is the store you brought me into. And I found something I wanted to buy for myself. So I did. Anyway.
Okay, your daughter is suction to you like she's still breastfeeding.
Yes, I know.
So I don't understand this idea that somehow you will be shopping when she's not around.
Right. Thank you. Oh, she's such a pill. So anyway.
Because how else is she going to get all that free stuff?
Right.
She's not there when you're out shopping with your credit card out.
I know. So anyway, I bought myself a new sex toy recently, Derek. And it's great. It works exactly as anticipated. And yeah. But I can't remember the last time I bought a sex toy for myself.
It's just a squirrel trying to get a nut.
Basically. That's basically what it is. And it's wonderful. It works really, really well. I wish I could remember the name of the company that makes it off the top of my head, but I can't. But anyway, it's lovely.
Now, do you think with this squirrel that they're trying to go for the sort of the buzziness from 25 years ago of the rabbit?
Well, I mean, so animals in sex toys has been around since basically sex toys have been manufactured.
That's right. Come through furries.
It really did start in Japan and China where they were making sex toys with animals. Like that's where it really originated from.
But I feel like they had to do that.
Yes.
Because they had bans on actual sex toys.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it had to seem like
that was part
legitimately
of it, yes.
a toy.
Yes. But I also think in the case of this, it's something you could have on your nightstand and people aren't going to automatically assume that it's a sex toy. Like it just looks like a cute little squirrel statue. And it's kind of like a pop arty looking kind of toy. So I think that that's part of it too. I think that part of it is it's not, if you accidentally leave it out, it's not going to offend people if they walk into your bedroom.
I am a little bit fascinated by these sort of transformer sex toys.
Yeah.
Things that are sex things but don't look like sex things. Because this was the whole thing with the fleshlight and the fleshjack, is that it would look like just a ridiculously large flashlight.
Yep.
And that you could sort of have it in a closet or in your room and people would just assume that you were prepared for a blackout. And the answer is yes, but not the kind of blackout you're thinking.
Right.
And so I find this whole thing fascinating of like, well, I want to be sex positive, but also if there's an electrician in my house, I don't want them to realize what a horn dog I am.
Right.
But then again, how are you supposed to have a sexy porn experience? The electrician came over and bear chicka dare
Right.
if they don't see your actual sex toys, and then they know, like, I am open for business.
Well, I leave my sex toys out all the time.
Oh, I know you
I
do.
don't hide them. Roby's grown up knowing that my toys are my toys and leave them be. Although recently, when I sold my house, I had to hide everything, which was very annoying. Because sometimes you just want to reach over onto the nightstand and grab your vibrator and rub one out real quick. But like when you have to hide them, it makes it more complicated.
And you have so many.
I know. Well, most of them I packed up long ago and put them away. But, my everydays.
I know. She put away childish things.
I had to hide them really well. And that was not as easy as one might think.
Because, when you have an open house and everything,
People are nosy.
People are snoopy. They are nosy.
Yeah, people are going to go through your shit.
Get in your business.
Yeah.
Open every closet.
Yeah.
Rattle every tree.
Yeah. Oh, can I tell you, speaking of opening every closet? So a while back I went house shopping, obviously. And I was that person, right? I was in someone else's house and they were living there. And what I found about that was it gave me anxiety. Like how other people live when I opened their closets gave me anxiety because people shove so much shit into their closets.
Yeah.
Like I thought I was going to die of an avalanche of shit falling on me in some places.
Yeah.
Terrifying. I would be afraid to open closets, honestly, if the house was being lived in because now I've learned it's anxiety riddled.
Well, yeah, because I had that when I bought my old house. Remember the previous owners, Beverly, every single closet was jammed to the top with stuff. And there were so many, you remember my old house.
Yeah.
There were so many closets because it was a Cape Cod. So they had all little pocket closets and everything on the second floor. And there was just a lot of storage in that house. And every closet was full. And plus in the basement, there was just like piles and piles of stuff. Not quite a hoarder house because the house itself was relatively neat, but they had just jammed every closet. And I just thought, oh God, is this what happens to you after 17 years? And so when I put my house on the market, I wanted to make sure that all of the closets, the closets had things in them, but that they never felt full.
Right.
Because the house was full of furniture, like every room was fully furnished and everything. And then you'd open up the closets and the closets had a normal amount of things in them, clothing or boxes or whatever it was. But there was never a sense of, the space is packed. Because that was the thing. Like my strategy was, leave plenty of open space so people feel a sense of how big the space is, how much storage space there is, but it never feels crowded or too empty, because that's a whole other problem. And then it's like, this is such a big house, how are we going to fill everything? If it's too empty. So you want it to feel like a normal level of thing. But I agree. When you look at how disheveled people live, because when I would go and look at places, if any sign of it being a mess, I was like, I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to live here, because it just gives you the idea of if you live here, your life will be a slovenly mess. And I know it's going to be, but I want to envision, as I'm in a place, that it will be a place that is constantly clean and organized and not a problem. Because, that's the real thing. You want, when people come to look to buy, or you're looking to buy, you want a house that says, this place is the solution to my problems, not more problems.
True dat, yo. True dat.
I don't know, maybe having your sex toys out would show people this is a sexy house and I will have lots of orgasms here. Maybe it has good sex mojo. Maybe people should leave their sex toys out.
But let me ask you a question. So because I was thinking about this recently. I have friends whose houses I've been to many times, but I've never been in their bedroom. And then I started realizing that is a strange thing, that you go to someone's house, but you never see all the rooms of their house. I had a friend who came to my house a while back and they're like, I've never seen the upstairs part of your house.
Oh.
And I was like, what do you mean you've never been upstairs? It just seemed odd. But then I'm like, well, why would they have gone upstairs? Usually we're just hanging out on the lower level of my house. So Are you someone who goes into all the rooms of people's houses? I'm sure you are because you're nosy. Or are you someone who's like, no, you never go into, like, I could think, like my friend Jeff. I don't know that I've ever been in his bedroom, and I don't know that I'd want to. I feel like that's just such a weird invasion of privacy.
Well, so I'm not Snoopy. So if somebody doesn't invite me to see places, I'm not Snoopy. And the thing is, like when I was in Manhattan, even when I lived in LA, people lived in relatively small apartments.
Yeah.
And so, you walk in the front door and you give a 360 look around, you can see everything. So
yeah,
most
in those
people,
places, yes.
In those kinds of circumstances. But yes, when I moved to the suburbs, whenever I would have people over, like I would have a party and people had not been there, my neighbors, I would always give them a full tour. And part of what I did was like, well, I don't want them to think that I have like a sex dungeon in the basement. So I'm going to be fully transparent. Like, here's the whole house.
Who cares if you do?
Well, I don't want them to think I'm the freaky neighbor.
But maybe you are.
I'm not. But the thing is, I'm not the freaky neighbor. And so, but I also don't want them thinking I might be the freaky neighbor. So I give a full tour. But also, like, I like to, with the house, I like to talk about sort of my design choices or what this room was for or whatever else. Like in the basement, I had a finished part of the basement, and then we left the laundry room, utility part of the basement semi unfinished. And part of it, and it was like psychological, like, oh, well, this is the utility side of the house, so it doesn't need to look fully painted and decorated or whatever, because this is a utility room, right? So I wanted to convey this is a utility room versus the other rooms, which are finished and painted and have furniture and whatever else. So part of it was just sort of psychological. And then I would explain like, but also when you get into the more unfinished side of the basement, they could see things like the steel beams and things like that, which were a selling point for me in buying the house. So when I was selling it later, I didn't want to cover up one of the main selling points of the house. Anyway, but I'm always very transparent, like see the entire house. But I also was constantly redecorating. So people would come back and it's like, oh, what have you done since the last time? We remodeled this and we redid that and we took this out and whatever else. So you got to show all that kind of stuff off. But I'm a big believer in just show the whole place. But sometimes people are just like, they're not interested. They're not curious. And they don't want to explore around.
Right.
They don't care.
I guess that's me. I don't care. But like you've said in the past that like if you go to someone's house and you're in their bathroom, you're going to open up their medicine cabinet. I don't think I've ever done that anywhere I've ever gone.
Oh, sure. You just want to know, like, what's going on in here?
Oh, I never want to know.
Oh, I do.
But why? That's what I don't understand.
It's none of my
why?
business.
Like, it's just going to have the shit that you keep in a medicine cabinet.
Yeah.
But explain that to me. I don't
They
understand
might have
the
something
appeal.
good. There might be good ideas waiting in there.
Ideas? Like what?
Yeah.
They're hydrogen peroxide?
Well, no, like, you might think, oh, God, they look great for their age. And then you see whatever their age-defying moisturizer is. And then you think, maybe I should buy this brand.
Huh. Okay. So you're looking for tips to stay younger. Got it.
Well, no, I mean, but even still, like, what if it was like, okay, let's turn around to you and your new Squirrel Friend.
Okay.
What if you were curious about what kind of lube people were using? Because, you're always looking for, like, what new lube might be a good thing.
I don't need to go snooping. Snooping is rude.
Oh, so just like over dinner. So like, hey, what lube is everybody using?
I would ask that question.
I know you would. And that's not tacky. That's less tacky than
I don't know
just
that I would
opening a
ask it
medicine
over
cabinet.
dinner, but if I was curious, I would just ask.
I don't know.
I'd be like, hey, Adam from Sissy Town, what kind of lube you using these days? I'm looking for a new lube.
The other thing, I will say this, though, is that a lot of the, showing the whole place is about how awesome I think the place is.
Yeah, of course.
I have lived places where I'm like, oh, I love this. I love this apartment. I love this house. So I want to show the whole thing off.
Yes, I can see
but
that.
But if it's like, ugh, this place is a mess. I hate it here, whatever. I'm not having anybody over. Like, I don't want people to see an embarrassing place.
Right. So like when you were staying at that little tiny apartment.
Oh.
You didn't let anyone
Never had anybody over.
Yeah, of course not.
The only people who saw it was me, the owners, and the movers who moved me in. und out. That's it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That totally
Because
makes sense.
I'm like, ugh, this place is terrible. Why would I want to have anybody over? I just assume when people don't have me over their place, it's because their place sucks.
Because you just assume that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. Or maybe they don't like to host. Hosting is a lot of fucking work.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't mind hosting.
I
As
know,
long
me
as
neither.
my place isn't hideous.
I mean, I don't mind hosting. The only part about hosting that I don't love is when I actually have to clean to prepare for it. I'm like, I don't feel like cleaning my house.
Like scrub your vagina? Like clean what?
Like, my house.
If you kept your place neat.
I do, but then you have to do the more deep clean than you normally would. Yeah. Like,
Do you think they're checking the grout? Do you think they whip out a white glove and they're like, let me see if this place is
scrub
dusty?
the bathroom in the general area where they're going to be using it, even if, because, I don't, even if I keep the house clean, I still got to scrub the toilet, wipe down some stuff, put out some fresh linens, in the bathroom for towel hand wiping and things like that. I try to do a little cleanup, but it's always like, ugh,
How
why?
dirty are things when people aren't around?
No, it's not that they're dirty. I just like to
Aren't
have it
they?
be fresh.
Fresh?
Yeah.
Okay. This is your problem. This was your problem with Iris. You would go down to North Carolina and visit Iris, and she was keeping things fresh when you would come and visit.
Yeah.
But it turns out
that went out the window real fucking
she
fast.
didn't keep anything fresh, and you were fooled into this sense of freshness.
Yes.
So I guess But
yes, of course, I'm gonna run the fucking Roomba through the house before my friends come over. I might, dust. I might just try to do some general cleanup. If Iris has left a bunch of mail or something on the table, I might, put it in a stack and put it on the desk. Stuff like that. I'm not going crazy, but
you are crazy.
you have to clean up a little bit if you got your friends coming over.
Yeah, well, yes. If you're having people over, you should
But then again,
spruce things up a bit.
I think about my next door neighbors, right? I'm at their house all the time. And we come for coffee every Sunday morning. And every Sunday morning, especially in the colder months, you go inside for coffee, not out on the porch because it's it's cold. And so we'll show up for coffee on Sundays and their dining room table will just be covered in shit. You never know what you're going to find on their dining room table, but I can tell you this. 99% of the time, it's covered in stuff that has to be moved for us to be able to sit at the table and have coffee.
Okay. See, this is why Candy Spelling said you have to have a wrap room. Because it is undignified to use your dining room table for wrapping things. But it's also when a dining room table becomes a catch-all place for junk, books, and whatever else.
Good.
It's not good.
No.
You can't ever have anybody over.
Nope.
And you can't ever have dinner like a civilized person.
Right.
You need to have separate spaces for these things.
Yes, I agree totally. I try to make my catch-all be my desk versus the dining room table. Because the desk is a little more off to the side, not quite in the view of everybody. And, where's the table? That's where when I have friends over, we're 99% of the time gathering around the table to play card games or whatever. So I want that space to be comfortable and clean, preferably.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Speaking of keeping areas clean,
Yes.
I would like to talk about some situations in sort of public transportation areas where, you hope it's clean.
Oh, God.
So earlier this year,
Yes.
on a Brussels airline flight from Senegal, a flight attendant on board helped a woman give birth.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. A woman flying from Senegal gave birth on the plane.
That's crazy.
I know. And
What is she doing flying that close to her due date?
I don't know. But
Because they recommend against that.
yeah.
You're not supposed to
exactly
fly at
this
all in
reason.
your last trimester.
Yeah.
For this exact reason, yes.
Because I have to imagine, I don't know. I haven't been pregnant. I am sure it's not bad for the baby. I'm sure that the issue is, if you are close to your due date, the changing cabin pressure, the jostling around, the physical exertion of getting on and off planes and sitting in the stress position could just cause the baby to think like, oh, it's time to get out of here. Like that it's...
I don't know if the baby's quite thinking like that, but sure, let's assume
No, but I mean, your body might be signaled.
Yeah.
Okay, now is the time to drop this load. And so, but also that having babies is somewhat unpredictable, as you know. Like they have a general idea based on your due date, but, it's, normal to have a baby within a week or two of your due date. And that is not like crazy or your body's doing something weird or whatever. It's just like, it's not an exact science. And the baby comes when the baby's ready to come or your body is ready to expel it. Like that's just how it goes.
Right.
And so, I would imagine that part of why they tell you not to fly is that the whole experience of flying might... Because didn't they tell you that when you were trying to have your baby to like move around more?
No.
They didn't tell you that? Because remember, you were like, I've been pregnant for 10 and a half months. Why is this baby not coming out?
Yeah.
They didn't give you any tips of like how to get the baby out of your body?
They told me to eat spicy food and to have sex.
Okay.
And that might encourage the baby to come out.
Okay. Now, why would they... I mean...
I don't know where these wives' tales come from.
It wasn't
going to work in my case anyway because my baby had no desire to come out whatsoever.
Well, that's because it saw your birth canal and was like, well, that's too small.
Perhaps.
But I assume that the whole thing here is that spicy food and sex are stimulating to your body.
Right.
And that the stimulation is like, gets things moving. Because I assume that like the baby's in the womb and is feeling comfortable. It's got nowhere to be.
Right.
But if your body starts like, I don't know, sparking like, hey, there's stuff going on and everything, then the baby's like, oh, maybe we should be on the move. Things are happening. Maybe we should be happening, And so maybe that's what it is. But I would imagine that flying is a similar experience to the body. I mean, it is stressful. Like you're getting up and going to the airport and moving around and you're getting in and out of the plane and the cabin pressure and whatever else, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it changes people's poop patterns for crying out loud when they fly. So why wouldn't it cause a baby to pop out?
I mean, true, I guess.
Anyway, the woman named her baby Fanta. I assume based on the last thing she had from the beverage cart.
Oh my God, that's fucking ridiculous.
I agree.
That is absolutely ridiculous. I just can't believe that she was on a plane that close to her due date. Like that to me is like, because my doctor flat out outlawed it. She said, because remember, we almost didn't get to go to Phoenix Pride that year because it was so close to my due date. And I said, I have to be able to go. I have to be able to go to this Pride event. And so finally, I was able to convince my doctor to let me go, but it was really close to like that cutoff, like by a few days. And, but we convinced her to let me go. But yeah, she almost didn't let me go. I remember that very, very well. Because Phoenix Pride was always one of my favorites. And I remember showing up Phoenix Pride, and I was as big as a fucking house.
A house?
Yeah, and I wasn't even, that was just the start of my third trimester. It wasn't even like I was like, a day or two away from giving birth. And it was hot. I was out there in that sun, giant. Ugh, gross. Most unpleasant is what it was. Most unpleasant.
Well, you're going to find this one also unpleasant.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
So a woman named Jenny St. Pierre was reported missing in Florida.
Uh-oh.
Her
Where'd
family
she go?
hadn't heard from her. She's reported missing.
Uh-oh.
Well, she was found.
Alive?
Oh, very much alive.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good news.
Because she was in New York City.
Oh.
Giving birth at the 34th Street station from the W train.
All right. So did she just run away from home to have a baby and didn't want anyone to know?
I think she just left. Yeah, I think she left and just decided to start over her life or something.
Huh. But she had the baby on a subway station?
Yeah.
At a subway
she was
station?
on the W train and then started going into labor. And then the train pulled into the 34th Street station and they met her there. The emergency people met her there. And then this baby is crowning right here in this filthy
yeah, I was going to say, because the subway station is disgustingly dirty. Even nowadays when they're much cleaner than they used to be, but they're still like they're rat-strewn, gross places. People pee all over the platforms. They shit on things. Like, it's so nasty. I can't even imagine having your vagina close to the ground in a place like that, let alone give birth to your brand new little baby. Like, I mean, you know, your baby could get hepatitis from the moment it's born.
Hepatitis?
I'm just thinking of something that I feel like it could get. But disgusting. Like, that's horrible. That is so gross. I think about all the times when I got drunk and I would like puke over the ledge into the tracks, you know, from being drunk.
You're not supposed to barf on the tracks.
I did.
Barf in the trash can.
Oh, no, I barfed in the tracks more times than I could count.
Oh, that's not good for the tracks.
Well, probably not, but I don't give a shit. What do I care? They're not my tracks.
Obviously, you don't give a shit.
You know, when you gotta puke, Derek. And you just be glad you have some place to puke.
I agree, but
you know,
between two parked cars like I did.
Well, that would be the better thing to do, but that wasn't an option when at the times that I had to puke. So sometimes you just got to puke over the ledge. Anyway, the point is that's a disgusting place to give birth to a baby. I mean, what did they name that baby? Subway rat?
You know what? I don't know why you would make a mean joke like that when everybody knows the baby was also named Fanta.
I mean, it's just, oh, God, that's so gross. That's so gross.
I agree. At least that Brussels flight was clean.
I just can't imagine giving birth like in a subway station.
Yeah.
Or where in the subway station you give birth.
I think the real problem was that she was ready to like drop that baby. Like they did not have time even to get her up into an ambulance or something.
I think I'd rather have the baby on the subway train than in the subway station.
It's probably cleaner. Honestly,
yeah, I mean,
the subway train.
And I see people shit into their own hands on a subway train.
Yeah, but the difference is they clean the trains and the platforms
every night.
Right.
Well, the trains anyway.
Yeah, but the trains, because they just hose those things down.
Oh, yeah, they go in like with a power washer and they're just like...
Power wash them with bleach like every day.
Yeah.
So, yes, depending on the time of day, the subway is going to be cleaner. But the platform, I think, is dirtier just because there is some eating on the train, but there's a lot more eating and drinking on the platform.
Yeah.
Like people come in waiting for the train and they're like finishing up their drink or their whatever, and they're dropping things and whatever.
And they're tracking in whatever germs on their shoes and shit. Ugh.
Yeah, it's much grosser.
I mean, those platforms are nasty.
Yeah. Where most of what touches like the seat is people's clothing.
Here's what people need to know. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were bred in a subway because there was mutant green ooze flowing down between the subway tracks. That is how disgusting the subway stations are. It could birth a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Okay, they're a lot cleaner now. I don't think you could actually give birth to a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle now.
You know what? You shouldn't rule out anything in New York City, Derek.
I saw Mimic. Ugh. I understand what can happen in a New York City subway.
It's so gross. Like, you could have a radioactive baby from the second it's born. That's just wrong.
Or you could have a baby that has a very strong immune system because it was born in a filthy place.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't think any baby wants to be born in a subway station. That's all. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
So gross. That is a nasty story. I cannot believe you told me that. That was disgusting.
Well, you know, scientists have a lot of concerns about how about like baby immune systems and everything with so many cesarean sections.
In that they're not getting enough bacteria on their way out.
Yeah, because the baby is not going through the birth canal and getting a little exposure to this and that on their way out.
Couldn't they just rub the baby on the mama's butthole or vagina and once they're bored and go a day? That's so fucked up. I'm sorry.
That really is. Like, when you gave birth, would you want the doctor to be like, and now we need to have the rub the baby on your vagina ritual? How would you feel about that?
I don't think I'd care because I was so drugged up at the time. And it wasn't like I could see or feel anything. So if the doctor had taken the baby and just been like, let's just rub this baby all over her vagina real quick, I don't even think I would have known. They had a sheet up so that I couldn't see my guts that had gotten pulled out, right? And so I couldn't see anything. And they had me like strapped down like I was in the crucifixion kind of position where both arms were out and strapped down. Like when they're killing someone on death row, you know? And so I couldn't see or feel anything. So whatever. If they how do I know they didn't do it? And Iris couldn't see because there was a sheet up because she didn't want to see my guts. She would have passed out.
I really don't think that they would rub the baby on your vagina. Also,
I mean,
I feel like if there was some kind of like holistic health baby center that had a process where they would take the newborn baby and rub it on your vagina before they handed it back to you, whatever. I think this is a story that would run on Fox News for like 8 months.
Probably. But also, Derek, you have not been in the operating room where they conduct cesareans. But let me just tell you something.
I don't want to be in the operating room, period.
This was probably the most surprising thing about having a cesarean. So my doctor's like, okay, let's roll you in. We're gonna get this baby out. I'm like, okay. And they kind of roll. Baby. So, I watch a lot of like Grey's Anatomy and ER back in the day, and they made these operating rooms look really glamorous, right? Like there's a big room with all this medical equipment and it's clean and da-da-da-da, right?
I've never thought they look glamorous, but okay.
Well, compared to what they fucking rolled me up into, they are. So when they rolled me into this room, I remember thinking, oh, this floor, it was like a linoleum tiled floor. And I thought, oh, this floor is really stained up and dirty. Ugh. And of course, it was from stains of things, I'm sure, iodine and whatever else that had dropped on the ground over the years of this being an operating room.
Drop it like it's hot.
And it was like kind of a big room, and there was some equipment in it, but it wasn't like a lot. It was not and like, how on like ER and Grey's Anatomy, how the lighting is kind of dark, but then they have like those big headlight type lights so they could see what they're doing. And the rest of the room is kind of dimly lit. That's not at all how it was. It was like all fluorescent lighting on full blast all the time. And there was like fucking so many people in there, and they were all buzzing around me doing different things. And you didn't really know who to pay attention to because there was so much things. Like they were putting things in my arms. They were strapping me down. Then they were making me sit up, and then they were epiduraling me. They were doing all this crazy shit. Laying me back down, strapping me back down. Like it was all kinds of stuff that they were doing. Lots of things happening here. They're putting up sheets. Then the nurses were talking to the doctor, and the doctor's talking to the nurses, right? And it happens pretty quick. Like it does not take a long time to go in and do a C-section. I'm going to say, I could be wrong. I bet I was in there tops 30 minutes, probably closer to 15 or 20. If I'm being really realistic, at least that's how it felt. It felt very, very quick. And, but yeah, not a glamorous room. And then basically they pull the baby out and they take it over to like a table that looked like a folding fucking table. And on the folding table, they had like, so you know how they like to use like those like things that look like dog pee mats, right? So there was like pee mats all over the table, and then they bring the baby over there and they were cleaning up the baby, and then they put the baby in like a scale and measure the baby and weigh the baby, and then they wrap the baby all up, and then eventually they hand the baby to Iris, right? And then Iris brought the baby over to me. I puked, and that was how it went. But it is not; those rooms are not glamorous by any stretch, and even like the birthing rooms are not glamorous. It is a really I think it is kind of it's just, they make it, the women make, and men of the world and media make giving birth seem like this beautiful thing, but it's really not. I don't know if your mom would agree with me or not, because, she's been to a lot of these types of things, but there's a lot of very unglamorous things that happen when you have to have a baby. And, yeah, it's not great. It's really, at least I felt like it was not great. It was not great at all. So anyway, there you go. That's what I have to say about that. I know, very helpful I am.
A little bit. Yeah,
and then they stable you up and shit at the end. They send you off to a room, and then I shook like a leaf for hours. It felt like, didn't get to see my baby for many, many hours. And then when they finally let me see my baby, because I had the anesthesia makes me really twitchy. And when I finally did get to see the baby, I was so high on drugs. And they're like, here's this baby. And I'm like, should I even be holding this fucking baby? I'm so high. But they handed me the baby, and then they didn't come back for hours. And the whole time I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this baby? So I just held on to it.
Well, that's what they want you to do.
I guess. I'm surprised I didn't drop it, to be honest. I was so tired and I was so drugged up.
Well, by then it's your baby, so
They don't
if you
care
drop
much
it, it's your
anymore?
responsibility.
I mean, I guess.
They're not responsible anymore.
Yeah, well. And now my baby's a giant baby. That is driving me crazy. So there you go.
All right. Well, more baby talk.
Okay.
Here on Derek and Romaine. These are a couple of like ethical conundrum babies.
Oh, okay.
All right. So first, earlier this year, a woman in Georgia named Christina Murray, and Christina is spelled Krystena. I don't know why. Anyway, Christina
Okay.
Murray.
All right, Christina Murray.
So she did IVF,
okay.
as a lot of people do these days.
Sure. Do we know, is the daddy like her husband or
Sure.
a donor, or we don't know?
Yes. No,
Okay.
I believe that it was a situation where it was her, like they had their embryos.
Okay.
And then the embryos were implanted, or one was. Anyway, she gave birth.
Okay.
And when the baby came out, the baby was black. And she and her husband are white. Anyway, it turns out somebody else's embryo was implanted in her body.
Oh. This does happen from time to time.
Yes.
These kind of mistakes happen.
Right.
Okay.
It was an IVF mix-up.
All right. So did they have to give the baby to the biological parents? Do they know who the biological parents are?
So this is the ethical dilemma. Like, well, you gave birth to the baby.
But it's not your baby.
It's not your baby, but
Legally, I don't think it is.
Yeah, but even still, like, let's just say that, because you didn't do IVF, you just did sperm. But let's just say you did do IVF and you got somebody else's embryo after you spent 9 months cooking that thing in your Easy Bake
I mean,
oven.
listen, would I be upset? Yes. Would I want to keep that baby? Probably. Should I keep that baby? No. Because here's the reality. This other couple, unbeknownst to them, this thing happened. Their biological stuff was taken. They did not know. It was used. They did not know. They are innocent in this, but this is a baby that they clearly wanted, because they wouldn't go through the process of making an embryo if they had not intended at some point to have a baby, right? So, and now the opportunity to have this particular baby has been stolen from them. So I think ethically you have to unite the biological child with its biological parents. Now, I get that is hard. I get that is traumatizing and really, really shitty. I would hope that the couple, first of all, I would hope that the couple whose biological child it is would want the child and would, want to have the child. Now, obviously, you have to ask them. I mean, you have to go to them and say, "Hey, listen, this thing happened." Explain the situation, and see what their response is. I imagine they're going to want this child, though, and you kind of have to let them have it.
Well,
and it's shitty, but this couple's going to sue this hospital for every fucking penny they can.
So in this case, she had used donor sperm.
Okay.
And after she gave birth, she realized that it had been an IVF mix-up, that it was not her embryo. But she did want to keep the baby and did keep the baby for several months. But the biological parents whose baby it was sued for custody and got the baby.
As they should have.
So now she has sued the IVF clinic.
As she should.
For the distress of this mix-up.
Right.
And also just like the stress of like, she spent all this money. She went through this process.
I mean, she is absolutely right to do that, to sue them. And they should pay her through the nose. Here's the thing, because I did go through this process to a point. So I used an anonymous sperm donor. And when we did our insemination, our doctor was very thorough. Like, he brought in the test tube with our swim team in it. And he didn't just say, okay, I'm going to insert, the swim team in. He made us, we had to go through this whole checklist of things we had to do.
You recite the label.
Yeah, you have to say,
like,
all right, what is the donor number? And I'm
Yep.
like, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, that matches what I have. And then you have to look at the actual specimen sample, and the donor number is very clearly printed on it. And you're like, okay, yep, that is my donor. And then you watch them. In my case, you watch them pull the swim team out of the little vessel that it was in into the device that they were going to use to inseminate. And you watch the whole process for this very, very reason, so that it's not on one person if a mistake is made, that
Right.
multiple eyes had seen it. And by the way, we were probably the second or third step of that in the process of preparing our insemination. So, we did this every single time. So, it's kind of hard to make a mistake like that. I'm surprised they made a mistake like that, unless the specimen was mislabeled at some point. Like, that's
Right.
the only way I could see a mistake like that happening.
Yeah, that the mistake was made much earlier in the process.
Right,
That the
right.
embryos were not stored in the right tray, or were not labeled with the right label, probably weeks or months before the
Or
implantation.
even years, honestly.
Possibly years, depending on how it is. Well, that is the question about this, because, like, let's say you are the parents, because sometimes people do IVF and they have multiple embryos.
Yes.
And
My next door neighbors had this situation.
Right. So sometimes you have to implant a lot, but you frequently will have
Leftovers.
leftovers. Like,
Yes.
you've had all the kids you want to have kids, you have leftovers. Like, what if in this situation, you're the biological parents, you already have all the kids you want, you have left the baby business behind. Like, let's say it's been
Right.
5 or 6 years.
Yep.
You're out of diapers, the kids are in school, you're getting your life back together. Then you ring, you get a call from the IVF place like, oh, by the way, we accidentally implanted one of your embryos and now there's a baby.
Right. So
And now you have an unexpected baby.
So in this case, I think they should also be suing.
Yes.
But in this case, I think let's say that had happened. Let's say I had a bunch of embryos. We made Romy. We were holding on others to have more children later. We decided, you know what? One is enough for us. And this happened. So at that point, you have to decide, okay, well, this is a miracle. I have another child that is biologically my child. I can either choose to raise that child, or I can choose to let this woman who clearly wanted a child to raise this child, because I know that this will be a wanted and loved child, right?
Right.
And I think then you make an educated choice based on what's best for you and based on what's best for your family. I mean, I certainly could say, I would probably want to raise my biological child. However, I would also not have a problem signing over parental rights to a woman who wanted that child and carried that child if I didn't feel like I was in the right. Like, let's say I'm 55 when this happens, right? Like, I'm well past my years of having children. And then all of a sudden this happens, and now there's a newborn, and I'm 55, and I think, all right, well, am I going to be able to give this child the best quality life because I'm much older, and maybe I don't want to be an older parent, or maybe I don't think my health is all that great and I'm going to live to be, 80 or 90. Maybe a younger woman who had this child obviously wanted a child. This was a mistake, not on her. It wasn't her mistake. She didn't do this. I think I would happily let her have that child, and raise that child, because I think that would be giving that child the best outcome in life, right? So, do I think that most people are going to do that? No, I don't. I think most people are going to want their biological child. But, lots of people put up their children for adoption for various reasons. And I can see, even though this is a completely insane situation, I could see where there are some women who would do that. So, I could see it from all points of view. The person I feel the most horrible for in this situation is the woman who carried that child, because by no fault of her own, she is enduring incredible loss and suffering. And, I would hope that the family whose biological child it is would welcome her into that child's life in some capacity. Like a lot of surrogates, families will have the surrogates be a part of a child's life and things like that, and share that story. I would hope that they would do that just out of kindness.
Well, also
But
because
you never know.
but she's also blameless
Right.
too.
Totally blameless. She is not to
And-
blame at all.
Yeah. So I think that, yes, I think that there might be some bitterness after she didn't want to give up custody and they had to sue for
Sure.
custody to get the baby. So I could imagine that there probably is some initial bitterness. But I would even think that the baby, because eventually they will tell that baby that story.
Right.
I would imagine. And then the child might be curious about who that woman was, because it's a blameless situation. So it's not like, you find out you're adopted and now it's like, who are these real people that I'm related to? In this case, it's like if I had a situation where, my mother was, on her way to the hospital to give birth, because, my mother, when she went into labor, she drove herself to the hospital. A stick in the middle of the night. And anyway, but if my mother's car had broken down on the side of the road while she was like in labor and a trucker driving by had like picked her up and had like called on the CB and then delivered me in the cab of the truck or something while the police were on the way. Later in life, I'd be like, I'd like to meet this trucker. I'm sure my mother would still be sending whatever birthday cards or something to this trucker, right?
Right.
Because it's kind of like a sweet
And
family
this
lore
woman,
story.
This woman who carried this child was the first person to love this child.
Right. So you could see that down the road,
Yes.
they might feel like, you know what? This is this quirk of this thing that happened, and we can be magnanimous about this now. And our child is curious, and we can meet up for lunch, and everyone can see how everyone is. And won't that be nice? And it's not going to be weird, because I would imagine that this woman with this IVF mix-up has, not yet, but almost certainly will have another child. Because she obviously wants a child, and now she will definitely have the financial means to have one or more. And after this lawsuit goes through, and so she will almost certainly have her own family. And as heartbreaking as I'm sure this situation is for her, having other children will be very healing, because it's not like she lost a child, like the baby died or something, where it'll be there is no coming back around from that trauma. In this case, the baby is just somewhere else and living a good, healthy, happy life with people who love them. And she will be able to move on with her life and everything. But it might be nice to see pictures later or meet them at some point and whatever else. And like, for this short time, you were almost mine, kind of a thing. I think that would be sweet. And I hope that this family, the biological family, can find it in their hearts to have some kind of, create some kind of bridge here. Yeah. Even though I am sure that they are as traumatized, possibly, in a different way, but in the same way.
That's a nightmare situation. Jesus Christ. I would be so gut wrenching. I mean, just thinking about that, I can't even, because how much I hated being pregnant, and then to have to go through all that and not even be able to keep the baby. Oh, I'd be so mad.
Yeah, it would be a lot. I mean, I think in your case, because you had talked about having another child, and Iris was so traumatized by your birthing experience that she didn't want to do it. Right. But if you guys had another baby, like fall into your laps, it'd be like, well, this worked out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it would be a little bit of a weird situation. Well, speaking of weird situations, so in the UK, as we mentioned, because they have these leftover embryos, some people donate their embryos to people who have fertility issues who want to have a baby. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have sort of ethical concerns about destroying embryos. And so in the UK, a woman gave birth to a donated embryo from IVF that was 30 years old.
Wow.
I mean, that's a long
time
to be on ice.
That's a long time to be on ice. But I mean, wow, that's wild.
I know. Well, the crazy thing is, that baby is going to have potentially siblings that are plenty old enough to be their own parents.
Yes, that is true. That's kind of a wild concept.
Yeah.
And yet, I suppose it kind of happens more than you think, because, think about like sperm donors. You buy your sperm, you put it on ice, you use as much as you need to get pregnant, and then you may have leftovers. I mean, we held on to our swim team on ice for 15 years.
Yeah.
Before I finally, let it go. And in my case, I had it destroyed, but because I didn't want to. I thought about donating it, but then I'm like, ugh, do we need more Romies in the world? No.
Well, there are already
Enough.
like siblings from that donor.
There are. Romy does in fact have siblings out there, but
Yeah. Well, when you get a good batch.
Yeah, he was a good donor. So I mean, I don't know. That's that, but yeah, it could sit on ice for a very long time without being used, and then one day get used, and it's still good. So yeah, that could totally happen. Pretty easily, actually. But that's kind of wild to think about.
Yeah.
30 years. Woo.
It's a long time.
Wow.
I assume that they will be. I mean, I don't know how these things work. I assume that the freezing is fine because they did have a viable baby. So, and I'm sure that they will just be sort of like, I don't know, checking on the health of the baby over time.
Right.
I'm sure there'll be some study later about sort of longer term IVF because even couples that are having babies, there might be a situation where they have some of their embryos on ice for, anywhere from 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
Because if you're having like 3 kids, you might want to have one every 2.5 years or something, right? So even if you want to have 3, you're going to be talking about a span where the embryo is on ice for quite some time. And I would imagine that at a certain point they will do a study on like
how long is too long or not long enough.
Longer range babies on ice.
Well, I mean, I think that with like sperm, I do think the efficacy of the sperm can go down over time. Like not as much of the sperm will be viable when you thaw it out over time. Right. I'm not sure about the eggs. More and more women and more workplaces, which I find fascinating, are offering this service where more and more women are freezing their eggs when they're in their mid-20s, late 20s, if they want to carry a child later in life. We actually know somebody, you and I, who did this. And and basically what she said is she's like, I don't know that I'm going to want to have children. But in the event that I do someday, I'll have viable eggs that are frozen that I can use and not have to worry about, salmonella in my baby. Because my eggs are old and rusty. So, I mean, there's a lot more of this kind of stuff happening in today's society. Women are having children older and older. And I think, I almost wish when we were first having Romy that I had done this, that I had harvested eggs. If I had known that Iris was going to be such a shit about this stuff, I would have done exactly this. I would have harvested my eggs to be used later in the event that I needed it.
Right.
And it would have just, or I would have actually gone ahead and just made embryos at that time and put those on ice.
Well, speaking of things on ice.
Yes.
And this happened in 2023. So this wasn't even like most recently in this past year.
Yeah.
But scientists did find a worm that was frozen in
RFK's brain. No, I'm kidding.
No, it was frozen in the Siberian permafrost.
Okay.
It's a nematode, a roundworm.
Okay.
So like very small.
Yep.
But it entered a state of suspended animation called cryobiosis, and they revived it after 46,000 years.
Okay, that's insane.
And because it had been alive in like the time of woolly mammoths and Neanderthals.
Insane.
Yeah.
I don't think they should do shit like that.
Why? What did the worm ever do to you?
Here's the thing. It was a worm that was alive 46, how many thousand years ago?
46,000 years.
Yeah, I don't think we need to reintroduce things into the world that were alive 46,000 years ago. I feel like it's like Jurassic Park. We are tempting our scientific fate, and we're going to end up killing ourselves because we're too stupid to know better. You know what I mean?
Well, okay.
I think this is going to happen. I do. And not just because this permafrost shit, it's melting all the time, right?
all the time.
And here's
it loves to melt.
And here's what people don't realize about this. I read a science thing about this. I don't remember when.
Science
something.
thing?
It was very scientific, and they
Jesus.
talked about like the bacteria and viruses that are also trapped in this permafrost
right,
shit
yes.
that are being released as it's melting. And it's like, oh my god, we have viruses that we maybe haven't dealt with in 46,000 years that are now just becoming a part of our world again, and it's gonna fucking kill us. It's gonna kill us, and we're all gonna fucking die because we were too stupid to let frozen things stay frozen. Mother Nature has a backup plan to knock us all off this planet if she needs to. She's not afraid to use it. It worries me greatly that we are going to kill ourselves doing something stupid like thawing out a worm and bringing it back to life. No. It was a bad idea in Jurassic Park. It's a bad idea now. Don't do it. Don't fuck with science, people.
First of all, it was a bad idea in Jurassic Park because there was no reason to bring back apex predator dinosaurs.
What is the reason to bring back a roundworm? What? Tell me why? Why should we do it?
This is see if they could.
Well, that's a dumb reason why. That is not a valid reason.
Well,
just because, can we?
It reproduces asexually, and it has already reproduced in a lab. So,
oh, great! So now we have more than one of these 46,000-year-old fucking worms running around. Great!
Yeah, it's the world's oldest mother.
Yeah, great. This is amazing. This is exactly what we need. Next thing you know, ringworms are going to kill everyone. You're welcome. Thanks, science. This is a horrible idea. Everything about this idea says you're inviting an alien species to kill us.
Okay, it's not an alien species.
We don't
it's a
know
fucking
that.
roundworm.
We don't know. Maybe
Okay,
it was brought to us by
All
aliens.
right, well, you know what? This show is over.
You're right.
I hate to end on Romaine screaming, but we're going
you
to have to wrap it up here. Thanks for joining us for another great show. That's my baby.
Yes, and now the baby's going home. Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye, everybody. To her new squirrel friend.
Can't get enough of the show? Follow them on Twitter at DNR Show or like them on Facebook.
And don't forget to tell your friends to subscribe to DNR 2.0 at DerekandRomaine.com. Who ate all my nuts?